This man embodies all the traits of a master: a bald head, squinty eyes, and the habit of wearing flip-flops outdoors. According to the unwritten rules of the comic world, he's undoubtedly a reclusive sage. If you spot someone like him on the street, remember, don't provoke him. Otherwise, you might end up like that little monk over there, hastily calling a good friend to help you dodge a kick. This old man is named Shu Lao. He's one of the elite masters in Nanzhou, with strength nearing the saint level. Though he has only reached the semi-saint level for now, how could a mere heaven-class beast stand a chance against him? Even driving the oldest model of a copycat car, he could still single-handedly slay his foes before him. You could see him raising his short blade high. He began to gather his soul energy, instantly conjuring a sword aura stretching dozens of meters. With just a gentle flick of his wrist, that sword aura immediately extended for thousands of miles. This was the 1,000-mile sword, a move that could shatter mountains and rivers. A mere heaven-class beast would simply dissolve into a black cloud amidst the whirlwind of soul power. At that moment, the army led by Dean Wei nearby marveled at the spectacular finishing blow. One soldier noticed that Shu Lao had suddenly vanished, and at that moment, he found himself atop a neighboring building. A small group of soldiers from the Milan kingdom, realizing their plan had failed, prepared to retreat, only to be caught up by Shu Lao. One of the members immediately recognized the old man, who had just vanquished the monstrous beast. As their captain readied to assemble his defensive gear, a flying sandal struck the wall, sending the captain tumbling to the ground. The remaining soldiers, caught off guard, were swiftly dealt with by Shu Lao. After dispatching the last soldier, Shu Lao lifted the captain as if he were a child, leaping gracefully between buildings. Meanwhile, in the southern district, the monstrous creatures were being ruthlessly commanded by the principal, like wild horses being mercilessly beaten. Reality proved that no matter how profound one's kung fu was, it paled in comparison to the brutality of a cleaver. Others reveled in the joy of their hard-won mastery. The vice principal noticed Shu Lao's unexpected appearance and handed over the captured soldier to Principal Ngui. He felt uneasy, sensing that Matra and Tranvei Quan had been infiltrated by the enemy. Trusting this task to anyone else was out of the question. It had to be handled by the principal himself. After that, he prepared to head north, feeling that an intriguing figure awaited him there. He needed to see for himself whether it was the second prince or the enigmatic Tong Van Tuong, a presence that even a master like him couldn't ignore. What on earth did this man consume that makes him feel like a seed bathing in a sea of light? Just moments ago, Liu Dongling lay injured and unconscious, but thanks to a series of miraculous maneuvers on my part, he has swallowed an entire vial of resurrection elixir. Meanwhile, the second prince is still examining the resurrection pill I handed him. Why is it different from the ones he has consumed before? Judging by the quality of this elixir, it must be of the highest grade, perhaps even a divine artifact. Yet, the intricate patterns on it suggest a refining technique he has never encountered. Could this technology have surpassed the giants of Tiandu Kingdom after all these years? If the effects are even more potent, the outcome will speak for itself. Before he could finish his sentence, he realized that Liu Dongling had just resurrected, his wounds gradually healing. Upon awakening, he mentioned having dreamt a dream. He felt as if he was enveloped in a vibrant spring, a radiant light shining upon his chest, making him feel like a seed basking in a sea of brilliance. His entire body had been reborn. Aside from the injuries from the previous battle, even the long-standing back pain from his training has been healed. Even the maidservant of the second prince, Xiao Mai, noticed that the wrinkles and gray hair on Liu Dongling's face had vanished. The man, once 40 years old, with the face of a 50-year-old and the kidneys of a 70-year-old, now appeared to be in his early 30s. Could all of this be because of my elixir? Initially, he only focused on my achievements, but now he realizes I might hold a significant secret. Consequently, he feels the need to befriend me. Just as he was plotting to win my favor, something even more astonishing occurred. At that moment, Senior Sister Shangguan stepped forward, cradling a massive space crystal, instantly rendering the divine elixir in his hands utterly insignificant. Since the second prince witnessed Sister Shangguan returning with 9 complete space crystals, he immediately turned against me. He began to proclaim that this was a strategic resource he had painstakingly acquired. Now he was ready to claim it all. I had considered striking a deal with him, offering some concessions for a long-term collaboration. Yet, ironically, Sister Shangguan's house was part of the second prince's faction. Her second brother was currently a soldier serving directly under the second prince. Initially, I thought our connection could fetch a higher price, but the second prince merely stated he could offer 5 minor objectives based on the reputation of the Shangguan house. This truly posed a dilemma for me. At first, I could achieve 6 minor objectives during the trial. However, in a split second, he proactively attacked, declaring his intention to return and promote Sister Shangguan's brother. Upon seeing her, he couldn't contain his joy. I, too, found it hard to refuse, and he pitifully approached me, lamenting that his current budget was quite limited. He begged me to sell someone to him. With 2 people attacking me, I had no choice but to reluctantly agree. However, his maid turned out to be a miser, refusing to part with their savings card. He even suggested, if the emperor desires it, why not let my senior sister, Shangguan, dig out my brother? Since it was family, he would certainly comply. Yet, beside him, Captain Liu had sensed something was amiss. Initially, the lamented wasn't particularly rare, but with such a complete crystal, it undoubtedly held a special secret for destruction. How could we have obtained so many intact lamented like this? I was certain I held the secret to this destruction. After hearing the words of the second prince and Captain Liu, the maid reluctantly handed over the money. Upon receiving the payment, the second prince recalled that our Song family was once one of the 4 great clans of the Tiandu kingdom. The previous head of the family was even one of the 8 generals of Tiandu. 20 years ago, there was a genius who dominated an entire era. It is a pity that legend has it. The Song clan was drawn into a war over a woman, and even the Saint Sword Patriarch was wounded because of her. Ultimately, the clan was exiled to the east, tasked with guarding the Namhuang Wall. But now, if the Song clan were to see a talent like mine emerge again, perhaps they would rise to power once more. After receiving payment, the second prince prepared to hand over the precious essence to the guards. As an exceptional merchant, I immediately decided to offer them a one-time free shipping deal. Everyone knows that the Lei Kong essence, possessing spatial attributes, cannot be stored in a conventional pouch. Yet, they had no idea that I could utilize an avant-garde spatial formation to compress the essence before placing it inside the pouch. It's not my style to let a customer leave with such a valuable item without proper arrangements. But this approach requires a bit of finesse. As my senior sister, Shangguan, and I prepared to depart, the second prince mentioned that he owed me a favor this time. He assured me that if he ever needed anything in the future, I should not hesitate to ask. I graciously accepted his gesture, while secretly hoping for an opportunity to call upon him soon. This favor I definitely wouldn't give away for free. The downpour seemed to have come to an end, but the second prince could not sense the presence of A Tan. Perhaps he had successfully left the Yuanding city. With everything settled, I needed to hurry home to assess the situation. From my memories of the past life, both Jiwu Academy and Yuanding City were destroyed in this torrential rain. I had followed the refugee caravan southward, narrowly escaping death in the desert. It took me nearly 20 days to sneak back to the Song clan. However, less than a month later, the Song clan's defenses at the southern Huang border were swallowed by a torrential rain. The soldiers of the Song clan, alongside the forces of Yong'an, were almost completely annihilated. The old man and my siblings perished there. At that moment, I was powerless to stop the unfolding tragedy. Once again, I found myself escaping alone. Then I encountered the master who saved me from the gallows. Now, with 2 months remaining before everything transpires, I still have time to prevent it all. Suddenly, I felt a powerful aura approaching. Without a moment's hesitation, I kicked toward it. In the swirling dust, a bald figure wearing flip-flops emerged. As I struck unexpectedly, the second prince behind me tensed up. He sensed that this figure's aura was stronger than that of a heavenly realm expert. Commander Liu also remarked that this person might nearly reach the saint level. Meanwhile, amidst the smoke, Old Shu was gazing at me with a murderous glare. He commented that I was hiding too deeply, a person who had reached the pinnacle of the emperor level, yet could still recognize him. I retorted, saying, "A master of the heavenly realm reduced to guarding at Jiwu Academy in South Prefecture. We're all the same in the end." In the Seven Wonders of the Night Martial Arts Academy, there is a saying, "The principal flows like water, yet his blindness is as solid as steel." This must surely refer to the father of two, whom I, as his junior, should respect and greet. He is renowned as one of the three swordsmen of the southern region, known far and wide as 10,000 miles encounter with Tu Haoming. He achieved the celestial level cultivation by the age of 30, with his legendary technique capable of cleaving rivers and mountains in Dongdai Yuan. It is said that he once traversed thousands of miles to the battlefield in Beijing, all because of a single remark. With one strike, he toppled 3 warships, claiming the lives of hundreds of foes. Clearly, he altered the tide of war. Rumor has it that over 20 years ago, he reached the pinnacle of celestial level. To break the barriers of legendary speed, it is said that for more than 2 decades he has continuously explored the world, surpassing himself. All to pave a path for ordinary souls lacking talent to enter the world. Yet, strangely enough, if Principal Shu could orchestrate a scenario, had I not appeared, he would undoubtedly have arranged for Old Shu to rescue the second prince first. As a half-saint powerhouse, he should have been invincible beneath the saintly level. Yet in my past life, the second prince met his demise right here. In this world, becoming an ordinary individual chosen as a soul general is akin to being monitored by the deities created by the 108 masters. According to the rumors, once an ordinary person awakens, as long as their strength is sufficient, they can ascend to saint level. However, the soul tamer who controls the artificial soul stones is bound by the laws of heaven and earth, making it much harder for them to elevate their power compared to ordinary individuals. Their strength is also obstructed by these laws. Throughout history, no ordinary soul master has ever managed to break the barrier of saint level. The celestial level is already the limit for mortals, and the Elder Shu in front of them is a being who has reached the pinnacle of celestial power. Those around him must pay their respects, reverently addressing him as Elder Shu, a semi-saint. However, it's understandable, as there is currently no established system in the Eastern continent to train mortals into saints. If I could leverage the knowledge from my past life to train an army of saint-level warriors, wouldn't that crush an entire era thick? This Elder Shu is undoubtedly the perfect experimental subject. Let's test it on him first. At this moment, he had already noticed me. The peculiar expression on my face sparked an unsettling feeling within him. Indeed, as a man who has endured many years of trials in the mundane world, he sensed something amiss. Moreover, he told me not to pretend anymore he had heard the principal speak of me as an ordinary person possessing a soul. Despite being an ordinary person, my soul general prowess stands at the pinnacle of gold rank. This is the truth. He is undoubtedly curious about how I managed to overcome 3 significant levels to vanquish a heavenly beast here. He even dares to speculate that I might be hiding my true strength. Or perhaps our family harbors secrets that cannot be revealed. As he speaks, the second prince connects the dots of his previous suspicions. No wonder the color of the armor of Lu Bu I just saw is not the familiar hue associated with him. If they all think this way, then having Zuo Qi bear the responsibility for this new system is not an issue. It feels as if the second prince has just uncovered the truth, and without hesitation, he reveals his identity to take action. He appears to be quite appreciative, yet they remain deeply intrigued about how I managed to exceed my limits and slay the heavenly beast. With no other option, I must speak candidly to them. As I describe my experience, they find it hard to believe. For even if one were to melt down spatial essence, such a scenario has never occurred before. Of course, it's not as simple as they think. It's not merely about burning it down. I utilized wind magic on the essence beforehand and employed alchemical techniques to stimulate it, thereby reversing the attribute structure of the essence, leading to a collapse of space itself. After hearing this, the second prince finds this technology nearly impossible to replicate. At first, he wanted to learn this technique to apply it in future battles, but after uncovering the truth, he could only abandon that idea. Just as we were engaged in a lively conversation, I suddenly sensed a massive wave of energy approaching us. Moreover, they had formed a complete encirclement around us. Indeed, it was the spies from the Milan kingdom targeting me. This group had a single purpose: to eliminate the second prince of the Thiendo kingdom. What could he have possibly done to attract such enmity? What could our second prince have done that was so morally lacking that it warranted a relentless pursuit from so many Thorpons? As we utilized our sensing abilities to confirm the number of enemies, Lao Shu quietly observed my actions, and the results surprised him. My sensing prowess surpassed his, for he couldn't even detect the hidden celestial masters among them, while I recognized them with just a few movements. The enemy wasn't giving us much time. The celestial captain had ordered everyone to focus their attacks on us, ready to turn us into ashes at a moment's notice. Under the command of the maidservant Tu Mai, a group of guards switched to shield mode, prepared to protect their prince at all costs. In this critical moment, how could I possibly stand aside? With just a casual flick of my wrist, 2 talismans shot into the air. First, they formed a protective barrier over the heads of the 2 key figures. Then, with another deft gesture, I sent forth another talisman, adding an extra layer of defense for everyone, just in case. Even Old Shu, a seasoned veteran, couldn't help but be astonished by my continuous displays of skill. He had never witnessed anyone conjuring 3 layers of 5th-level defensive formations so effortlessly. While he was still in a daze, I tossed him something else, reminding him to be wary of the hidden celestial experts. Meanwhile, I took it upon myself to clear out the weaklings lurking outside. After receiving the item I had thrown at him, he was left awestruck by the contents of the vial. Yet, our enemies would not indulge us with idle chatter. As soon as the captain issued the command, everyone immediately unleashed their firepower. The ground we stood upon was instantly engulfed by barrages of bullets raining down from every direction. After braving the first wave of attacks, Xiao Mai swiftly turned to check on the second prince. Fortunately, he was completely unharmed. Furthermore, he discovered that the formation I had just set up had the astonishing ability to absorb the soul energy fired by our foes. Truly, this power was beyond belief. Seizing this moment, I quickly stepped out of the defensive zone and turned back to instruct General Liu to handle the opponents from the celestial realm. General Liu, a fighter as swift as the wind, demonstrated his respect for the army's might. Meanwhile, the enemy had already gathered intel about General Liu's severe injuries. It could be said that he was on the brink of exhaustion. Thus, he confidently challenged Lu Gui to a one-on-one duel. In no time, the weapons of the two clashed, while the other soldiers frantically searched high and low. The scene before me was captivating, as one soldier reported his position to his comrades. In the guise of Lu Bu, I suddenly appeared behind him. Perhaps it was time to teach them a lesson in assassination. The skills I had honed from Eitan in Taiyuan finally had their chance to shine. Today, I will unleash my true potential. The little soldiers were caught off guard by my sudden attack, leaving them in a state of panic, unable to discern friend from foe. Before they could even switch to their other weapons, I transformed into a shadow, appearing right before their eyes. With a swift stroke, I cleaved one soldier in half. Before they could even react, I delivered a horizontal strike, taking down yet another foe. The one below had yet to recover from my phantom-like movements. He was vanquished along with his weapon. However, it must be said that they all possessed Earth-level cultivation, and their armor was thicker than that of the Tian Duo army. Given my current strength, fighting against them was still a daunting challenge. At this moment, General Liu was entangled in a fierce clash with the captain of the Celestial Realm from the Milin Kingdom. However, seeing his subordinates continuously falling at the hands of the enemy affected his morale greatly. With the strength of a celestial ruler, General Liu would not allow himself to be distracted. All at once, General Liu executed the unicorn's tail wave, successfully inflicting severe damage on the enemy's machinery. At the same time, the second prince realized that in this battle against the Soul Star warriors, he was even more powerful than during his previous fight with the ferocious beasts. Not only was his speed in dispatching foes astonishingly swift, but most of his kills were executed in a single strike. Moreover, he had the ability to spare the lives of his opponents, facilitating the unearthing of truths in the future. Witnessing the unfolding situation, the second prince immediately commanded his guards to concentrate all their efforts on protection and combat. All elite soldiers instantly shifted into battle mode, relentlessly applying pressure and firepower on the enemy. Seizing this opportunity, he swiftly maneuvered behind the opponent and unleashed the falling leaf dust, turning a hidden foe into mere ashes. Everything he had just accomplished was witnessed by the second prince, who was astonished to realize that throughout this battle, he had consistently employed the star-step technique of the mysterious armor. As he understood, this technique could only be mastered by a select few elites within the mysterious armor. Though the mysterious armor had existed for ages, to truly reach its pinnacle, one had to turn back the clock 20 years to the era of the mysterious armor's sixth manipulation. Among them, the leader of the mystic armor, Tong Van, achieved celestial rank cultivation at just 18 years old. So I too hail from the Tong clan. Perhaps there is a connection between us. It's a pity that the other 5 members of the mystic armor perished during the battle against the earth spirits. The position of commander-in-chief of the mystic armor has been vacant for 7 years, until the current female commander took charge. However, this female commander has chosen a path of purity, never engaging in any factional wars, and is remarkably humble in her dealings. Yet just now, the second prince witnessed me wielding a technique from this very commander. Could it be that the mystic armor has a secret connection with the Tong clan? If we could win the Tong clan to our side, perhaps the mystic armor would no longer maintain its absolute neutrality. Looking closely at the middle-aged man before me, he truly managed to block an attack from the Soul Star using only his mortal guise. Indeed, the bald men are not to be underestimated. Just moments ago, I had been relentlessly pursuing the enemy soldiers, while the guards around me had also begun their ceaseless counterattacks, providing me support from a distance. Even that old rascal is studying the defensive formation I set up, which led him to overlook the presence of 2 enemy soldiers. Although one was pinned to the ground by falling debris, it's a pity that I only have 1 weapon and cannot eliminate both at once. Meanwhile, the other soldier raised his massive blade, preparing to deal with the seemingly frail old man first. Little did he know that this unassuming elder was Shu Ban, one of the 3 arrows of the heavenly capital. His power was so overwhelming that he didn't even need to don armor. With nothing but his bare hands, he could stand firm against the strikes of a star-level soul master. This situation instilled a sense of dread in the enemy soldier. How could there be a person who could effortlessly block the attacks of a star soul warrior with nothing but his fists? At last, Elder Shu began to channel his strength, ready to take action. Just the aura he emanated, nearly reaching the saint level, was enough to terrify the little soldier into a state of shock. Seizing the moment as the enemy stood frozen in astonishment, Elder Shu leaped from the ground and delivered a powerful kick. In one swift motion, he incapacitated the arm of his opponent, a novice soul commander. Almost instantly, Elder Shu focused his soul power into his right hand, and with a swift swing, the enemy lost yet another arm. Meanwhile, the guard soldiers nearby were left reeling from Elder Shu's unarmed strike. They feared that Elder Shu's rampage would draw them into the fray. Even I had to admit that this old man was exceedingly skilled. He deliberately avoided striking the enemy's heavy armor, instead targeting the vulnerable joints, creating an impression as if he were fighting barehanded. Perhaps he aimed to provoke some hidden powerhouse within the heavenly realm. Indeed, on the other side, the opposing captain was entangled with Captain Liu, who suddenly raised his hands to the heavens, pleading for their hidden powerhouse to lend a hand. At that moment, a crimson figure suddenly appeared atop a nearby tall building. It seemed that this alluring figure was the true cause of the second prince's downfall in his previous life. The woman, donning a bull-headed mask, was none other than the patrolling envoy of the Sacred Heavens sect. This sect was often referred to by the world as a demonic sect. Even the second prince appeared extremely tense, as this sect wielded nearly total control over the military power of the Milan kingdom. From what I remembered in my past life, there were two deities overseeing the eastern continent, and they had lived for over 400 years. The Milan kingdom and the Zhe Shui kingdom each had a deity guarding them. 400 years ago, during the winter, they vanished beneath the earth. The king of Milun seized that opportunity to abduct the private son of the former emperor, turning him into a puppet ruler. Meanwhile, the eldest daughter of the king of Zhe Shui declared herself sovereign over 3 eastern provinces, becoming the empress. However, as the private son grew, he allied with the Zhe Shui kingdom, defeating the king of Milun and establishing the current Tiandu kingdom. Just as the king of Milun was on the brink of death, he received aid from a deity, and with that divine assistance, he founded the present-day Milan kingdom. The god who saved the Milan king is said to be a monster that has lived for over 400 years, but strangely enough, in Libra, they are like the moderate faction of the heavenly kingdom, never supporting the expansion of the Milan kingdom. In the battle of the heavenly capital, I didn't see the appearance of that divine ancestor in my previous life. Is there any change on Milan's side that I don't know about? Now, another girl is smiling and taking out a red talisman from her arms. At the moment she jumped off the roof and began building the landing gear, she suddenly disappeared into mid-air as the landing gear was about to be completed. At the same time, a violent explosion occurred next to Captain Liu, who had not yet responded. Even Captain Liu was knocked down in the blink of an eye. Now I realize the equipment controlled by the enemy. Although it is a mass-produced machine called Yichi from the Milan country, it should not have appeared so quickly. After easily defeating Captain Liu Shengnu and turning towards the second prince, facing such a powerful simulation, Shu finally took out his red fortune armor and prepared to fight seriously. The first confrontation between the two quickly began. The war between old and new devices has officially begun. She is a terrifying monster, and with the performance advantage of the new generation of devices, she can easily defeat Shu, who is known as the Three Arrows Heavenly Capital. Sóng xung đột giữa hai người đủ sức khiến những người xung quanh không đứng vững bị thổi bay tứ tung. Cơn bão linh lực bắn ra khắp nơi, thậm chí ngay cả trận pháp phòng ngự cấp 2 năm mà tôi thiết lập cũng không thể ngăn cản nổi. May mắn thay, khi trận pháp hoàn toàn sụp đổ, tôi đã kịp thời đến bên họ. Trận đấu ở cấp độ này, ngay cả tôi cũng không thể can thiệp. Hiện tại, tôi chỉ có thể dẫn theo nhị hoàng tử và chị em. Thượng quan rút lui về một khoảng cách an toàn, rồi tính toán tiếp. Khi biết chúng tôi đã an toàn rút lui, lão sư cuối cùng cũng có thể tự do tung hoành giao đấu với nữ quái. Chỉ thấy ông bỗng dồn sức dưới chân một cú đẩy, đã khiến nữ quái bay văng ra ngoài. Nhưng ngay lúc đó, nữ quái lợi dụng khoảng trống bay bổng, ném 2 con dao phóng về hướng tôi. May mà thân pháp của tôi đủ nhanh nhẹn, nếu không thì đã bị trúng chiêu. Kết quả lão Su lại vì phân tâm nhìn chúng tôi mà bị nữ quái đá bay ra ngoài, trượt một đoạn dài trên mặt đất mới miễn cưỡng giữ được thăng bằng. Khi lão Su đang tìm kiếm kẻ thù ở đâu, thì the female fiend suddenly materialized behind Old Shu, ready to deliver the finishing blow and end this battle. Fortunately, Old Shu, seasoned by countless storms of combat, swiftly countered with a strike of his sword aimed backward. Seeing this, the fiend had no choice but to swing her weapon horizontally to adjust their positions. Old Shu had created a small gap between them, but he had no intention of missing this opportunity to advance. He tried to pivot, determined to stay locked onto his opponent. However, the efficiency of his foe greatly surpassed his own, as she not only evaded his attacks, but also leapt with precision to position herself directly behind Old Shu. In that critical moment, the opponent launched a follow-up kick aimed directly at Old Shu. As for the Dark Sorceress, after summoning her 2 daggers, her spirit surged with renewed vigor. Once again, she charged toward Old Shu, who had just been sent flying. As she drew closer, she realized that Old Shu stood unwavering, preparing a powerful technique. He was waiting for her, a foolish woman, flying straight into her own demise. In the next instant, a radiant surge of golden soul energy erupted, shooting straight into the sky. This technique was originally crafted by Old Shu for a saint-level spiritual master, yet today it was unleashed against a foe like her. It was akin to pouring water into an already overflowing cup. At that moment, the short dagger in his hand began to split into multiple shards. The initial waves of backlash energy splintered into multiple branches, racing towards the simulation competition. Even if he controlled a next-generation body, he couldn't escape the relentless pursuit of these attacks. Accompanied by chilling screams, numerous golden energy beams converged into one. They then launched a direct assault on the ground. Just when everyone thought the battle had reached its conclusion, a shadow emerged from the swirling dust of the battlefield. This body could not possibly be a new generation product of the Milan nation. It should never withstand Shu Lao's devastating attack. Not only did it exhibit agility far surpassing that of the warriors from the Celestial Empire, but the durability of its armor also exceeded anything they had ever encountered. However, that last hit had inflicted considerable damage on the Spirit Maiden, yet she still retained one final move. She directed her focus towards the control panel of her body, inputting a sequence of enigmatic codes. Instantly, her battered form rejuvenated, as if reborn. Moreover, her spiritual power surged forth, even greater than before. Even the observing second prince from a distance could sense it. This momentum completely overshadowed Shu Lao. I realized this was the celestial demon dissolution mode developed by Nilan Ba. I never expected them to install this system in the experimental machine. It's no wonder the second prince couldn't escape his tragic fate in his past life. At this moment, Shu Lao had just unleashed a powerful move. As he adjusted his stance, the ghostly woman suddenly vanished from his sight. When he caught a glimpse of her again, one of Old Shu's arms lay severed. Before he could react, the specter delivered a fierce kick that sent him hurtling through the air. As Old Shu plummeted into the abyss of the sky, the ghostly figure reappeared right behind him, denying Old Shu any chance of countering. He became nothing more than a rubber ball, tossed and kicked back and forth in midair. Old Shu couldn't fathom how the speed of his opponent had escalated to such dizzying heights. Now, he had to find a way to strike back. Just as he made contact with the specter's thigh, she used his own body as leverage, plunging a dagger deep into him. Even though Old Shu remained resilient, refusing to release his grip on her leg, the ghostly woman had descended into a frenzy. With a swift strike, she aimed for Old Shu's head. No matter how strong he was, he could not withstand such a blow. His body, gravely injured, began to disintegrate, leaving only the form of an ordinary mortal to fall from the heavens. After enduring a relentless barrage of brutal attacks, Old Shu summoned the last remnants of his strength. From his pouch, he retrieved a super-rare elixir, one I had entrusted to him earlier. This was, in fact, one of the trump cards I had prepared for myself. This pill can significantly enhance one's strength in a short period. For Shu, who is stuck at the threshold of the saint level, its effectiveness may be somewhat diminished. However, it should still be enough to boost him by a small rank in no time. This is precisely the moment for him to help me test its potency. For Shu, a man trapped in the stagnation of the half-step saint level, nothing could be more delightful than a whisper in his ear. "I'll be waiting for you to come and take me away." The man known as Shu Banthang, Shu Hakmin, once had a sincere and deeply emotional love story that echoes through the years. Just after using the elixir I left behind, Shu suddenly felt as if he were lost in the depths of his own psyche. For him, the path to the highest realm is haunted by a memory from over 30 years ago. Back then, he was the leader of the Three Swords of Southern Prefecture, yet he fell to the comprehensive might of the Western Water Kingdom. At that time, he was still a striking young man, his long hair flowing like a banner. As a mortal at the age of 33, he had already reached the mid-tier of the heavenly level. This time, he was accompanied by two friends from the Three Swords of Southern Prefecture. Upon seeing Shu Hakmin being battered, his two companions, Ko Eng and Ha Kon, immediately wanted to rush in to rescue him. Because when they forged their brotherhood within the Three Swords of Southern Prefecture, they had vowed that they would not seek to live together, but rather to die together. Although Elder Shu felt incredibly moved, the enemy they faced was truly formidable. They were not mere mortals, but rather the ones who held Elder Shu's beloved, Huang Tumi, captive. Observing the situation, Elder Yu and Ha Kun immediately activated their mechs, preparing for a confrontation. However, this action only served to infuriate their adversaries. In the blink of an eye, several beams of soul energy shot forth, forcefully ejecting the two from their mechs. In mere moments, all three found themselves nearly overpowered by their foes. Released from another realm, Huang Miaoying, one of the four sacred ones of the Western Water Kingdom, was not an opponent they could withstand. At that moment, Huang Miaoying stepped through a portal, her cold gaze surveying the three below. Despite Elder Shu having ascended to the celestial realm at just 30 years of age, in Huang Miaoying's eyes, those beneath the sacred level were nothing more than insects. Eradicating them was merely a flick of her wrist. Fortunately, with Huang Tumi by their side, constantly pleading for their lives, they stood a chance. Otherwise, today could very well be their last. Huang Tumi was an extraordinary talent, a rarity within a century, and for the royal family, she was an invaluable asset. Yet today, Elder Shu wished to escape with Huang Tumi. This truly feels like a reckless act against the royal family. However, Huang Miaoying is also troubled by the thought that if he kills them, it will leave Huang Tumi with an indelible scar. Therefore, he proposes a deal if the three willingly depart and swear never to step into Taithui again. Then today, he will spare them. Upon hearing such a humiliating condition, Lao Shu, filled with fury, unsheathes a dagger before everyone, slicing off a lock of his own hair. He vows that no matter how long it takes, he will find a way for mortals to ascend to the sacred realm. Thus, today he can grant them mercy just this once. Hearing such a degrading condition, Lao Shu can barely contain his rage. He draws his dagger in front of the crowd, severing a lock of his hair and swearing that regardless of the time it takes, he will uncover the path for mortals to rise. Until he transcends to the sacred realm, he will never set foot in the stream. Yet, the day he achieves his ascension will also be the day he steps into the stream to cleanse himself. In that moment, he swears to the heavens that one day he will break through the towering walls and bring along the woman he loves. Hearing that vow, Huang Tumi couldn't hold back her tears. She told her beloved, "I will wait for you." Remembering her words, Lao Su's eyes suddenly sparkled with hope, for today might just be the day he had awaited for decades to enter the sacred realm and fulfill his dreams. Time has stripped this man of everything, dulling his skin and robbing him of his hair. Yet deep within his heart, he clings to the memory of a woman waiting for him. Little did he know that a simple promise made long ago would blossom into a miracle, enabling him to transcend the saint level. Meanwhile, I observe from afar, aware that old Shu has been relying on the super evolution to forcefully elevate his strength, a feat that cannot be sustained for long. A woman still waits for him. He could never have imagined that the promise of yesteryear would transform into a miracle that allows him to surpass the saint level. As I stand back watching, I know that old Shu has merely relied on super evolution to forcibly enhance his power, which cannot last indefinitely. But that is enough to prove that the steadfast belief that humans cannot surpass the saint level can, in fact, be shattered by external forces. From this point onward, the boundary between the saint and the mundane will no longer serve as a dividing line for new soul masters. Next time, I might impart to old Shu some truly transcendental techniques. After all, in my past life, I gathered a wealth of such knowledge in the central and southern continents, and I am certain there is a method that will suit old Shu perfectly. And now, at the saint level, old Shu finally understands why Huang Miaoying would declare that all beings beneath the saint level are but insects. The chasm between the saint grade and the heavenly grade is simply insurmountable. At this moment, the demoness before him resembled a trapped bird, unable to move. Although he realized he should seize this opportunity to disrupt old Shu's advance, he found himself utterly incapable of doing so. All he could do was watch as old Shu continued to reconstruct his body. With a subtle flick of his wrist, old Shu soared into the air like a kite severed from its string. Once stabilized, he began to strategize how to unleash the tape mode. Engaging maximum power, he was resolved to take a desperate gamble. But how could Old Shu allow him this chance? With his current strength, Old Shu no longer needed to wield a sword. He merely raised his right hand, and in an instant, a sword aura stretching thousands of meters and towering hundreds of feet erupted forth. No matter how formidable the defenses of that enchanting beauty may be, they are powerless against the wrath of Old Shu. Yet, Old Shu chooses to hold back. His last strike merely shattered his opponent's body, sparing the soul behind the controls. As the aftermath of that attack settled, the experience card of the Saint grade from the Super Progression Potion also came to an end. This battle concluded with a stunning comeback victory for Old Shu. Meanwhile, Mi Lun Bak Tien Gui, the captain who had been quietly observing, prepared to retreat upon witnessing their defeat. As he turned around, he discovered that he was surrounded by the protective forces of the Yuan Ding city. The remaining members who accompanied him were also under the control of the Zhanwei army. Thus, the battle to defend Yuan Ding city had officially ended, showcasing a decisive victory for the Tiandu kingdom. The once bustling and prosperous Yuan Ding city now lay in eerie silence, as if time itself had paused in mourning. After passing through this checkpoint, the surroundings were now engulfed in devastation. Fragments of shattered stone littered the ground like remnants of a forgotten dream. At this moment, the second prince was meeting with Principal Gu, a member of the Gu clan who was aligned with the prince. The inability to arrive in time for reinforcements left Principal Gu feeling an overwhelming sense of regret. However, the second prince bore no ill will, understanding that Principal Gu had shown great wisdom in inviting me here. Beyond my exceptional combat prowess, the prince also valued my diverse and adaptive strategies. While they conversed, I discreetly seized the opportunity to reclaim the talisman that could heal the evil spirits from the witch. I then paid a visit to Elder Shu, who had recently sustained severe injuries. Yet he expressed his regret, stating that had his condition been slightly better earlier, he might have grasped the key to a breakthrough. Hearing this, I gently inquired if I should give him another lesson, so he could return and ponder more thoroughly. Upon hearing my suggestion, Elder Shu immediately appeared bewildered, glancing around cautiously as he discreetly checked if I truly possessed 2 precious 6-star elixirs. To them, those precious elixirs are exceedingly rare treasures, but for me, I could conjure a batch with just a mere thought. However, Elder Shu suddenly claimed that he saw through my facade, recognizing that I am not an ordinary individual. Having traversed this world for countless years, braving numerous hidden realms, he guessed that I had stumbled upon fortune within one such mystery. Yet, he expressed no interest in the secrets I hold. Instead, he offered to help me erase the traces I left behind in the city, allowing me to safely masquerade as an ordinary person. This would be regarded as a partial favor he extends to me. Indeed, his years of diligent training have not been in vain. I find this quite astonishing. Thus, I had no choice but to accept this arrangement and let him be my test subject. It felt as though I had been battling all day. It was time to rest. Upon hearing this, Elder Shu agreed, stating his desire to return and tend to his injuries. With the assistance of my aide, Xiao Yue, we boarded the flying boat, departing the battlefield, if only temporarily.